Fighting Talk back again. It's the I'm delighted to be joined by Rise and Conquer promoter Carl Liddle ahead of Rise and Conquer 15 set for October the 5th at Sunderland Live, which of course used to be Rainton Arena. Carl, we're just a few weeks out now. I feel like the show's all of a sudden come around and it's just a couple of weeks away. How much are you looking forward to this 15th installment?
Yeah, this is probably on paper the best card we've ever done in terms of amateur level. We've struggled with pros, but this is the one I'm looking forward to the most. We've had more demand than anything in terms of tickets, people wanting to be on the show. So yeah, we're definitely starting to get out there as one of the events that everybody wants to be part of.
Before we focus on the event as a whole, let's actually look at this. Sorry, before we focus on the promotion as a whole, let's have a look at the event that's coming up now. Of course,
Mm-hmm.
in event, he's back. Nathan Haywood back on home soil. Of course, he had that fight on Octagon. I believe this is just a one fight release. In a tough fight here on his return.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the guy he's fighting is just come out of Cage Warriors, just had a fight on there. I think he's had 12, 13 pro fights all over Europe. So it's definitely the next step up for Nathan, and it's a test that he needs. But yeah, and again, it's a competitive fight for the hometown person.
And I know we've seen it sort of when Rise and Conquer first started, it was a full amateur show, and now we are getting these pros on. Just in
Yeah.
terms of sort of, I guess, development standpoint for you as the promoter who's been there since day one, how nice is it now to be able to be putting on these like good pro fights as well?
Oh, absolutely. It's amazing, to be honest. It's where we always wanted to get to. There's always only so far you can get to in terms of funding and money around you, but where we've getting to from where we started is phenomenal, and we only want to keep growing. To be honest, we want to get to a point where our full card is a pro card. That's where I want to get to. Probably a while off that yet, but that's exactly where I want to be.
You touch on the amateur card, and like you say, top to bottom, this card is filled with guys that we've seen on Rise and Conquer before, or fighters who are doing really well on the circuit and they're coming in for their
Yeah,
promotional debut. Plenty of title fights here as well we've got coming up.
yeah,
I know,
yeah,
but we'll have a quick look at them all. But the one for me that particularly stands out, of course, the rematch, the bantamweight title fight, Ethan Wilson against Ellis Pilkington. Ethan, of course, won that belt against Jack Brennan in what was one of the most dominant displays I think we've seen in that
yeah.
Rise and Conquer cage. Ellis comes in, the only man ever to beat Ethan so far in amateur. Just how did this sort of fight come about, and how much are you looking forward to this one?
Yeah, I think this is going to be an amazing fight, to be honest. I've seen Ethan progress on the local scene, grappling competitions recently, and yeah, he's turned into some high level talent. On the other side of that, Ellis is as well, as you've just mentioned. Ellis is the only guy to ever have beat Ethan. So, to be honest, getting that fight back together, I think Ethan's always wanted a rematch, and Ellis has always wanted to be on Rise and Conquer. So, it seemed like the perfect opportunity to see if the two of them would fight again. But a little bit added bonus of having the title there as well. Obviously, Ellis has been very active, especially the last few months. I think he's had a little bit of a short time out, but he has been grappling and he's been very competitive. So both guys are at the top of the game. So this could be one of the best amateur fights you've ever seen for a title.
It's a funny one as well, and I know it's something that Ethan mentioned on the video that he done with the Rise and Conquer Media team, where he'd said, "Look, I went up his back on to fight him. Now he's coming down to fight me."
Yeah.
Who do you think that puts more pressure on? Because now Ethan's going to be in front of a hell of a lot more of his family and friends than he was the first time.
Personally speaking, I always think it's the other way, mate. If you're the hometown fighter, there's more pressure on you. All your friends are there, families there, local crowds there. Yeah. Definitely in my case, I would say it's more pressure to the home guy.
If we look then as well, we go from the lighter weight up to them heavier weight ones. The middleweight title fight there between David Allen and Thomas Nichols. Great fight, two heavy hitters. I think
Yeah.
don't think the figures will be needed for that one, do you?
No, definitely not. No. And to be fair to Davey, Davey's always has to be on the show. He's always wanted to be on. He's been around it when the guys from Local Roughhouse has been on before, and he's kept pushing himself forward and forward, and it's a perfect opportunity for him to show everybody what he can do.
There's a fight now as well, which I know a lot of people are sort of putting down as probably the best amateur featherweight contest you could put together in the country at the minute. And of course, that's for the title
Mm.
between Alfie Lennon and Hani Mussel. Just again, how did this one come about?
So obviously, he and his teammate Ryan Southern was our belt holder. He's turning pro. Didn't want to defend his belt, which is fine. It's been a while. Alfie's had a few injuries leading up to previous shows, so then we've managed to get Alfie back on. Alfie and his rights being on a tear, and he's due the title fight. But Haney was there from the same gym as Ryan Southern. Paul Reed shouted straight away, Haney will have that title fight if Alfie's up for it. And to be fair to Haney, he's only been training, I think, 2 year and a half. had seven, 8 fights in the space of a year, and he's absolutely flying. So, yeah, I think this is probably the highest touted fight on the card in terms of the engagement it's getting on social media.
How nice is it to see then the likes of Haney, the likes of Alfie taking these tougher fights for the title when sometimes now I think we can't see on the amateur scene, maybe guys being
Yeah.
very selective on who they're fighting, almost trying to protect the amateur record. Whereas these
Mm.
two are going in here with a lot on the line for them both in terms of their amateur career, but they're more than happy to go in there and face off against each other.
Yeah, I mean, both guys have got the right attitude, haven't they? They want to test themselves against the best while they're at amateur level, so leave no stones unturned until they turn pro. So I think everybody should do it, to be honest. It's one of my biggest frustrations. And matching a card, running an event, it's turning more and more to the point where nobody wants to get beat. Everybody wants an easy fight. So hats off to the guys that want to fight each other. The best guys fighting each other is the way it should always be, especially at amateur level. Shouldn't matter who you fight. It's all about experience and getting better.
Got Paul Kane as well, dropped down to 70 kilo, 155 pounds for that lightweight strap against Jay Finch.
Yeah.
Paul was big at welterweight. I'm very interested to see how big he looks here at lightweight. But again, two very reputable gyms.
Mm.
Kane, of course, coming out of TFT. Finch representing SBG Manchester. What are you expecting from
Yeah.
that?
I think that'll be an absolute firecracker of a fight, to be honest. To be fair, Paul's, as we all know what Paul's like, he's fought a couple of times in the Rise of Conor Cage. Jay Finch as well, quite an exciting talent. We've never actually had anybody on from SBG Manchester, so it's good to have that gym on the event and two top gyms fighting each other for a title. Again, Paul Kane's got the right attitude. Wants to fight for a double championship belt, dropping down to lightweight, been training in Thailand, and then you've got Jay Finch on the other hand, who trains with some absolute beasts in Manchester and goes around the circuit a little bit. So this could be an amazing fight as well.
There's so many fights we could go through on this card. I mean, we'll be here if we were to go through them all. But just for you now, when you look at the card, yeah, I've got it in front of us. We've got several guys that we've seen on before. Conor McGeary from Norse MMA, he just loves to come in and have a scrap. You've got your who's been in some great fights against Dan Bainbridge is the one that springs to mind. Sean Randall, of course, former title challenger on Rise and Conquer, coming back as well. Against Tom Johnson. That's an interesting fight.
It's a very strange fight, I think, to be honest, because Tom's didn't have the best start to his amateur career, but he's got that much experience in the world kickboxing circuit, and he's starting to find a home for himself now in the cage. And the last couple of fights, he's looked phenomenal. And we all know what you get from Sean Randall. You just get an absolute all-out war. One of the toughest guys I think I've ever seen fight. So it's very interesting. You've got one tall, young, lean, slim fighter with long limbs, and then you've got another guy who's just tough as nails, so and walks forward. So it'll be a very exciting fight again.
Another one was a bit like that as well. A fight that I didn't feel like I knew I needed until I seen it was announced, and that was Will Marston taking on Willem Japp. Japp on that last show come out complete unknown quantity and coming in almost stole the show with one of the best performances of the night. And of course, we know what we can get from Will, a long rangy striker. I think that could be very similar to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, William Japp was phenomenal on his last fight. You wouldn't think he got beat his first two fights in the Netherlands. He's absolutely outstanding. Great fight. And Will Marsden, I'm going to see him back. I haven't actually seen or heard of Will for a very long time, so it was a surprise when I seen his name come forward. I was excited to see him.
If we look at the card as a whole, as a promoter, how difficult is this one being, like sort of compared to previous shows you've put on?
I mean, every show's got its challenges, and every show gets harder and harder the more and more we do it. There's obviously not just me. Andrew Fisher does a lot of the matching and co-owner and co-promoter, so he takes a lot of the brunt of the matchmaking and a lot of the stress. But to be honest, this one, I wouldn't say it's easy. It's never easy, but we have more people wanting to be on the event this time, which is always helpful. But it's the problem that you get there is you match a card, you always struggle to keep all them fights alive, which people train hard, diet and whatever the issue is, but there's always problems occurring during the 8 weeks leading up to an event.
How much do you credit that then to the growth of Rise and Conquer as a promotion that you are now seeing more and more of these fighters from, like you say, first time year for SBG Manchester, these big gyms wanting to be on the show?
It's phenomenal, and I think it can only be. I think it's word of mouth. A lot of it has been word of mouth over the years because we've always put a lot of effort into looking after the fighters, making it a platform for the fighters, put a lot more money into the event. I know every promoter says that, but it's not always the case. But we actually do try and do that. And I think every fighter always wants to be on, and they tell other people and other gyms. And now that we're starting to get a better social media following and we're getting more engaged in the media side, more and more people are starting to switch on. Beforehand, we were just people classed us as a little show in the Northeast, and we're far from it. We get 1,200 to 1,400 people every event, and there's not many domestic promotions get that.
No, there's not at all. And when you look at that, if we look now, there's guys who fought on Rise and Conquer that are now in the UFC, fought on the PFL, at Cage Warriors, at Octagon. How proud does that make you as a promoter to see that it's not now just the Cage Warriors route for these guys?
Oh, it's amazing. All these big shows they even get in touch with us now, and they talk to me and Fisher as in a one-to-one basis. So it's good to get that recognition. And like you say, I keep forgetting how many people's fought on Rise of Conquer till I watch them on the telly, and I'm thinking, where's he come from? I forgot all about him. The alumni now is phenomenal, absolutely amazing.
We've got to touch on him, the former heavyweight king of Rise and Conquer. We've got Mick Parkin now in the UFC. Obviously, he's a Sunderland lad as well, a local boy. How nice is it just to see him doing what he's doing? And will he beat the show?
Oh, it's absolutely amazing. He's normally always at the show. I think last time he was on holiday with his girlfriend, so had a bit downtime. But yeah, he'd be there, and yeah, it's amazing to watch him do so well. Someone that's main event at our show a few times, and then gone on to what he's done, and winning $100,000 bonus. It's phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal.
Well, look, this is, of course, the second Rise and Conquer of the year, the two shows this year. Moving forward, what are the plans? Because I know it is difficult, isn't it? When you've got, especially a card the length of this card, we've got a lot of fights on here come October the 5th, that 3 and 4 shows sometimes aren't feasible for the year. But what's the plan, I guess, for the next 12 months?
So next year we're going to grow, and we always said once Fisher retires from fighting, which is he's more or less done that now. I don't know if he's ever going to come back. Maybe he's don't take that for granted. But next year we'll grow, and we're going to go to 3 shows, and then we'll take it from there. Ideally, within 2 to 3 years, I want to move up and down the country a little bit as well. Problem I have is MMA is saturated with events in the UK at the minute, and there's a show popping up every week at the moment, which makes it harder to keep the quality.
How much more difficult does that then make it for you guys as a promotion to stand out as well?
It's really difficult. It also geographically as well makes it harder. So we always done well in terms of people from the northeast, people from Scotland coming down. We have people from like the Leeds area, Yorkshire travelling up. But now there's that many events now, they don't have to travel this far. So it just makes it really, really hard to start attracting the fighters to want to fight on your event. Luckily, we've been around for nearly 10 years now, so our name's there, and it's one of the first that people look at when they see the event schedule.
Finally then, Carl, I know tickets are flying out. I don't know how many are left, but if people are wanting tickets for the show, how can they go about getting them?
So we've got tickets. There's an online ticket link for Skiddle on our bio on Instagram. All our fighters still have tickets remaining, I believe, or majority. And we can just direct message the page and we will post them out. There is at the minute, and I'm happy to share this, there's only 2 VIP tables left and only 25% of tickets remaining. So if you want tickets, be quick. Pay-per-view link is also being shared as of this week. So there's another option to watch the event as well.
Perfect. We'll pop them 2 links in the description as well. So if you are wanting tickets or to view the pay-per-view, if you head to the link, you'll be able to get them down there in the description. But yeah, Carl, look, thank you so much for your time. I know you're on your dinner break there, your full-time job trying to jump in.
So,
I really appreciate it. And yes, we'll see you there on fight night.
Right, champion, thank you very much. Cheers.